this. We're going to ignore the lawyers and focus on this, sort of define this guy as the epitome of a criminal. Yeah. And once you define him that way, the whole issue is get him out of the country, and we'll let the lawyers argue about the details.
But earlier this month, the U.S. Supreme Court paused the Trump administration's effort to deport alleged members of a Venezuelan gang who are currently being held in Texas. Now, it's the latest battle between the courts and the White House over Donald Trump's hardline immigration policy. Well, we're joined now in the studio by Michael D. Shear, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, White House correspondent for the New York Times, and author of Border Wars, Inside Trump's Assault on Immigration. Michael, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We were just talking there in the break that you covered Trump's first administration, and you described the second one.
Well, it's like that one, only on steroids. I mean, they're going faster, they're pushing harder to achieve their agenda. The one that we're talking about here, obviously, is their immigration agenda. They tried lots of different ways in the first term to push back, to sort of shut the border down, to keep immigrants out. Now they're going even further by not only trying to keep folks out, but aggressively trying to deport people who are already in the country.
I want to get into some of the specifics there in just a moment. Why do you think that these, I mean, we're not even hit the first 100 days yet. We're a little bit away. Right. But why do you think you have seen this administration move so quickly? Some have suggested that perhaps they are looking ahead to the midterms, which, they come around fast, halfway through.
Years, right.
And perhaps those midterms might not be kind to the Trump administration, and therefore lose both houses and make things difficult for Trump. Do you think that's a valid reasoning?
It is, but I don't think it tells the whole story, right? The midterm elections of an American president usually go against the person who's in the White House. So there is a sense that if they lose the control of Congress, they lose the ability to legislate in as aggressively as they want to. The thing that's happening here, though, is actually not pushing hard on legislation, right? To get Congress to approve things while they are able to. They could be doing that. They're not. What they're doing is using executive authority. And I think most of that has to do with a feeling that the best way to push back against what they knew was going to be opposition from the courts, from activists, from Democrats, was a kind of shock and awe approach where they just barrel through everything that they want to do without hesitation, without pause. I think there's a fellow who's one of Trump's top advisors named Stephen Miller. Was really the architect of the whole anti-immigration agenda. And I think he learned the lesson last time that time is not on his side. Right. The minute that you hesitate, the minute that you offer up a proposal and let it be criticized, it slows down the process. Better to just do things, do and then apologize later if you have to.
Right. Okay.
Well, but they're not.
And that's what's happening now. They're doing with the hopes of apologizing later. So, what you heard is not just blah, blah, blah. Once again, a lot of people's like, oh, you're just anti-Trump. What's there to be pro about? I mean, tell me, what should I be pro about? Please tell me. I'm confused. If I'm anti, what's there to be pro about? I'm anti losing money. I'm anti my gas being high. I'm anti interest rates going all the way up, increased prices, groceries through the roof. I'm anti that. Y'all want to root for people. That's what's wrong. Too much of that nonsense going on as it is. All this rooting for people. Somebody said, would you rather have Kamala? I'd rather have anybody in there that's going to bring that damn rate down. If you used to buy something that's $6.99, right? You used to paying that, then you go back and they say, hey, it's $10.99. You go, hey, what the hell? This is $6.99. Was that a sale? No, this is the new price. All right. Damn, that's taxing. That's $4. All right, cool, whatever. You pay it. Next thing you know, you come back, it's $12.99. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's $12.99. So then the script flips again. Oh, hold on. Yeah. The script flips again, right? So instead of being $12.99, it flips one more again. Now it's $13.99. I don't care who is in the goddamn office. I don't care if it's Donald Trump, Donald, Kamala, Romelo, Obama. I don't care what the name is. I care about the goddamn money going out down the damn drain. And I'm overpaying for shit that I shouldn't have to overpay for. That's what I have a problem with. Oh yeah, I will be going live on my Casino for Life channel, but we'll talk about the Warriors game. You know, I was watching WrestleMania, so that was taking precedence. Had to watch John do his thing. Yeah, Raw gonna be crazy tonight. But yeah, Trump is ignoring the court order, right? And the court order is saying you have to turn around those planes. Do not send any more of those people, those immigrants, out of the country. They have to be in Houston until this court, they gotta have this hearing in court, because they just determining anybody that's coming from Venezuela is in a gang and they criminals. Now, your deportation policy would be okay if it was universal. And they saying we're gonna get these hard criminals out. I'm cool with that. You want to get hardened criminals out of the country, people that's violating, I have no problem with that. But follow the rules and procedures in doing so. Instead of rushing to do it, doing it the Trump way. Because doing it the Trump way is going to lead to other rules and regulations coming through. But notice, these Ukrainians, they're immigrants too. They don't have the same problems that everybody else had. They gave you a gold card. If you got money in the immigrant, you pay to play. The more you pay, the better. Trump done turned America into a damn hoe in her 50s, trying to overcharge people. And I'm like, you trying to compete with these 20-year-olds. You out here trying to Melissa 40. How you gonna deport somebody that's from the country? Why do you think there's no DNA testing in the country of Israel? They ban it because that would prove they're just the occupiers of that land, not the actual people of that land. And because of that, they're always at conflict. Did you know that Jewish people around this world all kick back money to Israel? It's part of their traditional law. They kick money back to Israel for Israel's defense. Why do the United States always involved in Israel problems? Why do the United States always sending planes and ships over to Israel? How did that become the United States? If this was about Diddy, thanks for the super chat. But if this was about Diddy, buddy boy, this has been over a long time ago. Shoot, they gonna blame Diddy for trying to take a shot at Trump. The way they keep coming up with all this damn misinformation. They're gonna be that guy had a bunch of Diddy and the Bad Boy Family CDs in his house before he went out to take that shot at former President Donald Trump. When Diddy said in the song, "Take that, take that, take that," he could have been giving the signal to take the shot. Oh man, they do all kind of spinning. They've been doing nothing but spinning out here. The Windy City today. Straight up the Windy City. Well, I'm getting my steps in. Woo! I'm over 2,000 steps already. Cino getting it in. Look at them steps. Steps in. Look at Cino health cycle already. Cino getting them steps in, baby. Look how it's counting them down. 2,075. 2,080. Talk about the Cino don't get on the road. Cino putting in that road work, baby. Yeah, we getting it in. Man, I got a lot of rest yesterday after that long live stream. We did like 7 hours. I was like, dude, we did like 7 hours on a live stream. I was out like a light after that Laker one. Oh, sir, yes, sir. Yes, I hope you guys had a great Easter. Yes, I saw WrestleMania. The best match, though, yes, was the females. The females had the best match. That Rhea Ripley, that triple threat match, that was probably the best match of wrestling. The AJ Styles one was pretty good. Sundays is always better than Saturdays. Saturdays was weak. I just think some of the finales was the same and was weak. You had the female match in just like the Dominic triple. You had two matches in the same damn way. When Dominic got the Intercontinental title, same way, same ending. I said, damn, they gonna end this the same way they just ended the females? I didn't like the way the John Cena match ended. I thought that was lame as hell. I know the Rock schedule is kind of crazy right now, but damn, Travis Scott, really? I'd have had Stone Cold or somebody come out for that. Seeing Rattlesnake come out and announce something was cool, but I'd have had him involved in something than have Travis Scott come down there. I mean, really, to kick some guy in the balls and hit him with the belt to win the title, that's the ending we want to go with? I didn't like that. I'm happy John won, though. Well, if Trump is going to push for everybody to ignore the courts, then it is what it is. Because if that's what he really wants, that's very easy to accomplish. If you want to ignore the courts, fine. They'll oblige. We've had tons of reasons to believe it. Everyone has been putting people in a different predicament, and well, yeah, when you have people that's taking things out of context, people are being displaced, and a lot of people who came in this country legally went through the proper channels, and all their paperwork is being slowed down by a bunch of bureaucratic nonsense. What are they supposed to do? Sit here and starve? So they go to work. They start creating jobs for themselves, and they're productive citizens. But we're more concerned about them and thinking they're messing up all the market. But if anybody comes from Russia and Ukraine and over there, they all good. So that's what we need. More rich, psychotic Europeans coming in the country with money. That's dangerous. Well, when you start seeing people for who they are, believe them, baby. Believe them. Now, when I put people into the range of perspectives of, hey, we need this, we need that, this is the scenario of tomorrow, all these concepts they come up with. Have you noticed they never ever say, well, I think this is the best way to move the country forward. You're not gonna fix the country ignoring everybody else in the country and just saying, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. It's not gonna work. Nobody wins. It's always gotta be a compromise, but the interest of the country has to come first. This is what's best for the country. We kick them all out, then what? I'm okay. I don't, look, me keeping them in the country and all that, that's not really my main concern. My concern is all the costs that's shooting up to the ceiling. Inflation's going to record highs. The stock market is volatile. 401k, your social security being cut in half. All of these things that affects every American. And tariffs are supposed to fix it. No, you have to build infrastructure at home. So if you're not building the infrastructure here at home, and you're comfortable allowing Wall Street, who's bankrupt this country, yes, Wall Street, they bankrupt this country. If you keep allowing them to do just that, this is going to be the results every year. Wall Street has bankrupted this country. They bankrupt the banks. And all of these billionaires and multimillionaires like Trump, who took their companies, made them American companies, but had all the manufacturing, all the work done in Indonesia and China, have these people working for pennies while they make billions. Because it's less overhead. And you didn't want to pay the American people. You outsourced and got it for cheap. So goodbye CNC jobs. Goodbye manufacturing. All the stuff you went to school for, you got all your certs. You have to go to China to work. I know that. My uncle had to go to China. His job moved to China. So they had to send him over there because he's an engineer. And he's got like 10 different certs. And it's only like about less than 100 guys that could do the job he does. So he was so good at his job, they sent him to China. And buddy, he got a story, and that's a hood story for you. He fell in love with a Chinese woman, brought her here to the States. When she got her citizenship, she acted like she didn't know him no more. It's a long story. But a very funny and very teachable story that you should learn from. Like, how did you let this happen to you? I'm making that kind of money? Ain't no way in hell I'm giving two damns about any of it. Stop watching CNN. That's funny because CNN is the one station I didn't watch. I'm not very fond of CNN. So I don't even know what they said about the matter. See, See, that's what I love about the internet. You can go directly to the smart people who actually do this for a living. Their job is to follow the market, not to go on television. See, that guy's job is this is what he does before Trump was even in there. I listen to people who are in the market. I listen to people who invest. Listen to people who tell you why things were going the way they were going. If you've been watching these videos, everything I said has come true. When this thing first started, I said, oh, they're gonna have to correct this. Trump is gonna have to change this quick. This stock market's going down way too fast. They're not gonna last 30 days. The very next day, there was an amendment. Why? Because the U.S. Treasury bonds were being sold. And those are for infrastructure. If you invest, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. The U.S. Treasury bond cannot be effed with, no matter what. They would whack you, and them people in the White House would take you out themselves before they let that go. That's the money to build bridges, do major construction work for the city, for the country, for the state. So when the bonds are threatened to be sold because they seeing the rates drop due to the tariffs, Trump had to make amendments. Then I told y'all about Apple, because I'm someone who actually invests. So I watch this. I don't go to CNN. What, I'm going to listen to CNN Money? CNN Money, Bob's here. Hi, I'm Bob. I make $85,000 to come on TV and talk to you guys to tell you about losing millions. And I get paid from anybody that's going to tell me to push the market where you want it to go. And Fox News is just as worse. They're so biased, they stupid. I'm just like, my gosh. When they tried to tell me what was going on in Chicago at the city meeting, and they edit the video to try to tell their agenda, I just laugh. I'm like, you can watch the whole thing on YouTube and see that's not how it went down. But stupid is as stupid does. So I'm somebody who's not going to be happy to see someone who's not doing what I feel is a good job or a service to the country. And that's what I feel here. I feel that there's been a major disservice done to the country within the first 100 days. Someone decided to try something, and it was so dramatic, thinking that they could bully someone into a decision. So when you listen to real people that actually know what they're talking about, I actually share that information. Now, if you're on my Patreon, then you guys have been informed. You guys have gotten a lot of great money tips. All right, there we go. Because it's very simple. As I told you, because of these tariffs, old enough to know better. Immigrations hurt our jobs. That's vague. That's like saying crime hurts communities. Right? If immigration hurts jobs, why the hell would the country let anybody in the country? Why would America let anyone in the country if it's going to hurt all the jobs? Why do they let people come to the country then? Do you know how many thousands of people come to this country every year, even when Trump was in office? So if immigration is ruining the country, right? It's the worst thing in the world is immigration. Why they let people in if it's affecting all the jobs? Come on, Sticky. What's up with you? Liberal. Did you just say liberals? Oh my gosh. You're still stuck on liberals and conservatives. Don't you realize now that doesn't even matter? You're either an American or you're not. Liberal or conservative, guess what? The price in that supermarket is still going to be charging you 3 times the amount for eggs. They're not going to say, are you a conservative or you're a liberal? That price is the price. And you're going to either pay it or starve. So y'all still don't get it. And this is why it's wrong. These people were using this political theater that they've been doing and going against the courts, which this is why the courts are in place, so that we don't have dictatorship. Trump wants a dictatorship. He's trying to run the presidency as a dictatorship when he is part of a democracy. So how are you going to not listen to the courts? This is why he can't pardon himself from his crimes, because you can't pardon yourself from a state crime. President can't do that. But Trump's just like, I'm going to ignore everything. Yeah, but let's finish listening, because listening is so much vastly important.
You're not really apologizing much, but
What a way to run a country. Right. Let's talk about this man who has found himself in the center of this whole immigration debate. He was deported to El Salvador. The court said, you've made a mistake. The government admitted that they'd made a mistake. And yet, we are seeing the White House now push back on that. So can you just tell us the story? Because I have to say, as I told you in the break, I am so confused.
it's a really confusing fight. And essentially, I think the reason it's confusing is that the two sides are arguing about two different issues.
Right.
The White House would like to make it about deporting a criminal, right?
Yes.
The people who are on the side of this man and arguing that he should be brought back to the United States are really not arguing about whether or not he is or was a criminal, that is still up for debate. You could go to a court and hash that out. What they're really fighting about is executive power and the limits of executive power, and how much does the president have to listen to what the courts say, right? And I think that what the White House has concluded from their standpoint is that the issue about executive power is kind of vague and not something that your average beer drinking guy in a steel mill town, like that, he doesn't care about executive power and the limits on power and court authority, but they do care about, people like that do care about criminals.
Yeah.
And so I think they've just decided, and it's like two people arguing past each other with completely different arguments. The White House has just decided, we're going to ignore the courts, we're going to ignore the activists, we're going to ignore the lawyers, and focus on this, sort of define this guy as the epitome of a criminal. Yeah. And once you define him that way, the whole issue is get him out of the country, and we'll let the lawyers argue about the details.
But this man had a legal right to be in the country, right?
Yes. I mean, what happened was he had come to the country illegally.
Yeah.
He had married, had a family, got into a couple of relatively minor scrapes, and they found out he was illegal, and they said, you got to go. But then a judge, and this is the last thing before the current situation, a judge said, we can't deport him. This was several years ago. We can't deport him back to El Salvador, because if you do, he's threatened, because in El Salvador there are gangs that are likely to kill him.
Right.
And so, the U.S. has a process that says, the United States won't deport somebody back to a place that could be dangerous for him. So that was the status quo when he was scooped up and sent to El Salvador. And what the court and what the government admitted was, oops, like we didn't notice that he had this protection in place.
I see.
Right? And so the lawyers, the advocates are right. He should legally not have been deported. There was a protective order in place saying do not deport. The administration sort of ignores that and says, yeah, but he was in the country illegally. He's a criminal. We have evidence that he was part of a gang. All of that's very fuzzy. They haven't, and the advocates will say, the people on his behalf will say, look, if you feel confident, you, the government, feel confident that he's a criminal and that you could prove that in a court, bring him back, put him before a court, let's have it out, let's hash out all the evidence. And if he is a criminal, if that court decides it, then you can send him back.
I'm now finally on top of the story. Thank you, Michael. Just before we go, the trade is another big issue, of course. Now, it could be viewed that the UK, in that first big announcement in the Rose Garden with the boards and the strange tariffs on islands with penguins, but it could be seen that the UK got off lightly because we had the minimum, that 10%, right. The EU got 20%. Now everyone's on 10%. At least for those 90 days or whatever's left of those 90 days. But also we're getting from the White House that 10% is the lowest it's going to go. So when it comes to a UK-US trade deal, where's the benefit?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I think the UK is they do have some auto tariffs and all that could be taken off if there was some kind of a deal. But unless they can convince the president that there is some way that he's going even lower than the 10%, it's hard to see where that deal is.
Do you think?
And that's it. 10% is still high. And this is why I try to tell people, even at 10%, it is a loss. Liberals are the worst enemy to the black man. Malcolm X, let liberals tell it. They can let people in without due process, but can't kick them out without due process. The majority of the people aren't buying it. No more. MAGA USA. And what is MAGA bringing you, though, sir? I appreciate your super chat. I'm not a fan of liberals whatsoever. Liberals are delusional. Conservatives are in denial. So you have to find your ground in the middle. When you're going to be realistic to the situation and the problem that this is an American problem. not just an individual group problem. And see, that's the problem. Denial of what's happening right now. This whole trade war right now. You ask the conservatives, hey, what's going on? What is it? Hey, he knows what he's doing. Give him a year. Give him a year. If this was Joe Biden, you'd be trying to have him drawn and hung. So this is what I'm talking about. They're in denial. They act like they don't see what's happening right in front of them. All you got to do is tell a conservative, and they'll say, if this was Joe Biden going through this trade war right now, would you be talking about giving him 6 months, give him a year? He knows what he's doing. No. Trump is destroying you at the grocery market right now. We gave him 4 years. What are you talking about? Okay, he got his 4 years. So what do you think right now, his first 100 days, were they as worse as Trump's is right now? You like where Trump is taking you right now? In 2 months, you like where the country's going? I don't. I have investments. I'm seeing the numbers. This hurts Americans. You're paying for the tariffs. They're not going to discriminate against liberals or conservatives. You all got to pay.
So what a difference, not.
No. I know what y'all think, right? I told y'all about the market, but you didn't want to listen. Look at the market. Right? You see that? The gold coat Mexico is up. Right? There's like everything's going up 1 week. It's fool's gold.
This morning down 340 points on the Dow. S&P down 52. I don't know if we showed a chart of gold that up another about $80 or something. It's morning. Bitcoin up almost 3.5% as well. For more on this, I've already talked to you. I haven't introduced you. Let's bring in Tom Lee, head of research at Fundstrat, chief investment officer at Fundstrat Capital, as well as a CNBC contributor. And I don't remember whether it was you or Pump when we were talking about Bitcoin sort of stuck under 85,000 with gold going up every day. And it was either you or Pump that said Bitcoin usually follows a couple of months later, but has a much bigger move.
That was probably Pump.
Yeah, he's pretty bullish.
Yes.
Have you noticed anything similar to that? I mean, that's a pretty big move. And in the past, gold's been leaving in the past near term, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, this year maybe. We have seen gold leave Bitcoin in the dust and go to new highs. Looks like it'll do 4,000 easily, right? Do you think Bitcoin eventually catches some of the same money, same bid?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin earlier this year may have been struggling with some of the deleveraging that was happening for institutional investors.
Just selling what they could.
Yeah, selling what they could, and I think that suppressed Bitcoin, especially over weekends. But now that deleveraging is done, I think that Bitcoin is going to catch up to gold, and Bitcoin's old high was over 110,000. So I think there is a lot of room to catch up as a sort of non-dollar asset.
As for the equity markets, you think stocks are attractive, but uncertainty is still the name of the game. It's going to persist. So you think the high in the VIX, what did you say that was on April 7th, that holds?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to match that level of fear again. So I think we're probably past peak uncertainty. I mean, even with this Fed controversy, but I don't know if we're past maximum pain. I think that there's still risk that the economic consequences are going to cause markets to be hesitant, but it's going to be hard to match that fear again. So I think a structural low did take place.
So I don't know if I really think it's going to be hard to match. I could get a lot more. People were pretty fearful.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think this is going to be the absolute washout that some people are thinking, something similar to past breaks that were really significant. So let me ask you this, and just specifically, does the S&P have a closing bear market low from here? What are we down 14% now, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, 4,800 was the low we made a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I think that there's a chance we could be drifting dangerously close to that again in the next couple of weeks, because there's still probably a lot of investors sitting on their hands and there's uncertainty. But on the flip side, I just think that we have to keep in mind that, one, companies are very resilient, and we'll learn about it during earnings season. But we could have a positive policy shock as well.
there was apparently.
What does that mean? Like a backing off of some of the tariff?
Yes,
So that's what he's trying to tell you. Now, this guy's one of the top market analysts in the whole world. He looks at numbers. Now, what he's trying to tell you is what I told y'all before with the going into the casino. I broke it down to you in the simplest form. When Trump announced, hey, we're going to put a pause, that saw the market jump back up, right? And then, all of a sudden, it's going back down. Just like I told you. Those are not good numbers, people. And right now it's down almost 15%. And it's going to go down some more probably by next week, because people are not fooled. And they're not going to jump back into this market heavy until they start to see where these waters are. But if you listen to me, you was on my Patreon and you listened to me, none of this affected your money if you invested like I did. So if you own the Casino for Life channel, then you already understand our investment portfolio and what we're involved in and how our markets weren't affected at all. What's up, T? You ready for today? We will win game 2. I don't care. We will win game 2. Guaranteed. We will win game 2. No, there's no question or doubt about that. So yeah, I'm finna go ahead and make a call or two. Then I'm gonna go live on Casino for Life, and we're gonna go over the Warriors game. Yeah, I had to go back and watch that full game because I was watching WrestleMania. So definitely tune in over there. Thank y'all for y'all time, and we shall